What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I am your hostess, doing the mostest, Kimanchi. And y'all, I'm finna just be really real with y'all. I'm not a part of the alcohol prohibition club that Ada is trying to push, and I am currently under the influence of port. Okay, that's what we're gonna call it. And I also got me some to my right. So yeah. Now, if you need to pause this video to go get you some too, because you're still wrecked after the finale, then go ahead and do so right now. Okay, I'm gonna take a sip. Okay, let me hide these brands because they ain't paying me. And let's get into it. Okay, I don't know how, I genuinely do not know how I want to structure the finale of season 3, episode 8, The Gilded Age. My mind is made up. Directed by Salli, Richardson, Whitfield, and the director of photography, aka cinematographer, is Manuel, Billeter. So y'all already know the whole thing kind of like surrounding this episode is the end of season ball, right? It's the whole like high society thing. You know, Bertha wants to invite all women, right? Lena is against it. There's so much going on. But in the last episode, we know that one Elizabeth was letting William know, like, hey, Peggy is a low down, dirty skank. She is used goods. You need to get you somebody else. And in the middle of him getting ready to have that conversation, George ended up getting shot in an assassination attempt. Okay. So many things converged in this episode. And so I feel like I need to do like a review and a recap kind of at the same time, because there were many things that I absolutely enjoyed in this finale. There were many things that I enjoyed in this finale, and there were also some things like a little bit short of many that I did not like. Okay. And so it's gonna be structured a little bit differently than the rest of the episodes that I've reviewed in this entire series, because it's just kind of impossible for me to not like blend the recap with the review of the way things are kind of going. So, with that being said, I will say the first 38 minutes felt rushed. It felt rushed. It was like, okay, let's get to the results of what George looks like. Let's get to the result of Marion and Larry. Let's get to the result of William and Peggy finally having the conversation. It was just very fast paced compared to everything else that was happening this season. And I'm not sure. I think two more episodes could have fixed the pacing of the first half of the finale. It just seemed so fast and so rushed. Like George got shot in the chest. No, the bullet didn't break off into pieces into his body, but by the end of this episode, he's up and walking around in the 1880s. Like, the fuck? You're looking at technology right now that would just like the recovery time would not be like that. And because we're not really getting a sense of time in this, it's kind of hard to explain or even justify the speed of the recovery after a life threatening bullet wound, like to the point where he paid William an undisclosed amount of money for saving his life. And I really liked George's interaction with William in that respect, more so the dialogue in there where he was like, if I would have died in your care, you would have been vilified and ultimately lynched in society because I, a white man, died at the hands of a black doctor. And once again, I keep saying that this show confronts every bias, every stereotype, every prejudice, every racial construct that exists in the 1880s with cast members who are Black and cast members who are white and how they interact with one another. I absolutely love that and I absolutely enjoy that. One of the biggest things that you see in this episode with George in respects to all of his interactions, but especially with Bertha, is George is telling Larry, like, hey, don't let this relationship go. You should always be in service of the relationship. Don't let petty little arguments get in the way of those things. As long as you two are on the same page, you can get through anything. But every time he was interacting with Bertha, you can see in his face where it was just like, mm, mm, I'm kind of here out of obligation. And when we get to the finale, you really get into the inside of his mind and why there was so much back and forth in his facial acting throughout this entire episode, even on the heels of being shot. And I actually wrote down one of the quotes that he says at the end. And he says, where is it? Oh my God, I thought I wrote it down. Oh, he tells Bertha, I'm ruthless in business and not with the people that I love. And that's where in the trailer, she's like, can't you see that I'm ruthless for the people that I love? And he's like, I just need some space so we figure out what we want. And Bertha's like, well, I know what I want. And he's like, I know. And that's the problem. And so it really just goes back to George's insecurity within his own marriage with a woman who he feels is probably and likely more powerful than him. Is he saying these words? No. But I think there's a little bit of gaslighting in trying to make it seem like how she was with Gladys is the thing that's making him second guess their marriage. And he kind of starts off like, okay, well, I'm not blaming you for this, but I don't like my decision in the things that I've done with Gladys's marriage. So you recognize that you don't like that you walked her down the aisle, but because you did it, it's my fault. My ambition and my ruthlessness made you make that decision and not stand up to me, and now that's on me. Mind you, Gladys is the only motherfucker that's happy this entire episode. Like, she's in her own world. Her and Hector are working it out. He sees with his own two eyes, like, that this was a good decision. It was a great decision. And Gladys is pregnant, y'all. She is pregnant and she is excited and she is happy. And George is so deep into his fucking feelings that this is something that Gladys can't even celebrate with her parents, both of them together. And I thought it was very hypocritical that he was giving the advice that he was giving to Larry and wasn't taking it himself. And then also, even with the Larry and Marion of it all, I really see a lot this episode that Larry is a lot like his father. Highly emotional, likes to milk being the victim for as long as possible. And it was really getting on my fucking nerve. It was getting on my nerves. And you can see that George was also seeing like, damn, like my son is like a lot like me. And while Larry did have a point of like, how can we rock together? How do I know, Marion, that you're going to be here whenever I need you when you literally drop me at the drop of a dime? I told you I didn't do nothing, but you didn't believe me until Jack told you that I didn't do nothing. What the fuck? And Marion is also right. You're not innocent in this because you lied to me in the first place. Even saying that you did it to protect me, a lie is a lie is a lie, regardless of that. And so the way that he was just kind of like deep into his feelings in the first like 40 minutes was really getting on my nerves, but it was definitely indicative of the type of relationship that George has with Bertha. Marion is not one of them girls that's just gonna be sitting at home. And so will we see a mirroring of what's going on with Bertha and George with Marion and Larry? To an extent, can Marion and Larry keep all the good things that he has seen and witnessed within his own parents, but then carve out their own identity as a couple and hopefully potentially as future husband and wife, to where Larry isn't jealous of his spouse? Because at the end of the day, whether you agree with me or not, I'm standing 10 toes down. George is jealous of Bertha. Period. He's jealous. He's jealous. And I said this like 3 or 4 recaps ago, but there's just nothing more dangerous than a man who is jealous of his wife. And I'm not using the word dangerous in the sense that like all men who are jealous of their partners um will harm them or anything like that, but it just puts the relationship in a very dangerous place because now he's going to pick apart every little thing that you do and blame you for all of his shortcomings. And this is where we see George and Bertha, who are the heart of the show. Carrie Coon is number 1 on the call sheet. Her name is the first one listed in the opening credits. And so this is a huge deal as we are in the finale and entering season 4, especially because in a recent interview, I don't remember the actor's real name, but George was basically like, well, I don't have a contract yet for season 4, so what does that mean? And I know a lot of people on the internet was interpreting that as, oh my God, like he's gonna die from his injuries. But really, he's a man trying to figure out his place within his marriage. And I don't know, man. Like, I know it's the 1800s and everything is rooted in patriarchy and misogyny and just, I am men, hear me roar, or whatever the fuck. But, the dialogue was so good in that it pissed me off. I'll just say that, okay? Um, Whoo! There's so like it was so fast, like so much happened in this episode. I really just want to focus on like the meat of things. Um, but I gotta talk about Jack. Jack got a house, y'all. He said, "What up, MTV? Welcome to my crib. I am Jack, the master of this house, the master of clocks. Okay, I now have servants to do my bidding, but Jack not getting no good food, y'all. Like he is not eating well. My man is looking a little frail. But he comes back to the Van Rhynes, and I just love that the conversation that he had with Ada was one that he took to heart. Like, yes, you need to figure out like who you are now as like a rich man, but we're always your family. Our door is always open to you. And I love the conversation that he was having with Mrs. Armstrong, Bannister, Mrs. Bauer. But Bridget was in the room. It was just like, I don't give a fuck about none of that. So how old are these girls that be coming in the house? You said? Oh, they're young. Oh, okay. Got it. How often do they come? Okay. And it's just you at the house by yourself. So Miss Bauer and Bannister just kind of looking like, we see you, girl. And Jack is what's did I miss something? Like, what's up? Now, y'all know men be acting dense, they be acting stupid, and it is what it is, right? Even in a society where the women are known as Mrs. Man husband who they married to. I do enjoy that in the 1800s and for a very long time that the women still kind of like held the power of like getting men to pursue them and getting them to see like, hey, I'm interested in you. And so Bridget pulled up in her Sunday's bed with her Sunday roast and was like, remember when you said that you weren't eating? Yeah, you need to fire these bitches because I'm here now. And Jack is like, have a seat at the table, babes. And it was just such a really cute and really lighthearted moment. Y'all already know. I really want like a Queen Charlotte side quest limited series of just the servants of the Russell house and the Van Rhijn house. They are so interesting to me. Just their little like non-high stakes side quest and solving crimes and the forces of evil and everything like that. Like it's just a really good time. It's just really fun. And in this episode, they really kind of like broke up the monotony. They broke up the danger and the drama that ensued in this episode. Speaking of drama, my favorite thing happened. Ding, 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 ding. I've been waiting for the drag out, knockout match between Dorothy and one Elizabeth Kirkland. Hold on, because I got quotes. Y'all. Okay. Let's talk about Elizabeth versus William versus Frederick. Elizabeth, like I said, she's been walking around and she's been parading. She drove the dagger in her own son to try to convince him to not be with Peggy or that she was not worthy. And the problem with that is your son loves this girl. And instead of you allowing her the opportunity to tell him, you are out here gossiping and dragging her name through the mud in the name of God. Like, girl, no. When I tell you Elizabeth was in that living room fighting for her life, and William's looking at her like, I'm not going to the ball. You need to stay the fuck about my business. And she was still trying to talk. And Frederick's like, I am done. I am tired. You have been railroading our son in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And the only spirit in you is a demon. So you're going to go out to this carriage and I will meet you. And she's like, I need to walk outside without a man on my arm, without my husband. And that's your fucking problem. That's your fucking problem. You ain't got no identity outside of the dick in your life. Okay. So now you got to go out there. You got to look stupid. You got to sit in this carriage and you got to wait because your husband is now about to have a conversation with his son because you've been running rampant. Okay. And so she looking real dumb. Okay. But Frederick tells William, listen, you know what's up. Follow your heart. I support you. And honestly, at the end of the day, this ain't got nothing to do with either of us. This is your marriage. This is your relationship. Wherever you go, whether you want to be with Peggy or whether you don't, that's on you. I'm going to talk to your mama and we're going to make sure that she stays out your business. But don't make a permanent decision based on like temporary feelings. And definitely don't make it based on your mom. Now, that was a conversation that happened after Elizabeth was with Dorothy. Now, Dorothy was minding her business, talking to her cousin Athena. Okay, shout out to Jessica Dukes. When Elizabeth decides she wants to walk into the shop out of her way to try to gloat in front of Dorothy. Okay, so Dorothy says, mind you, this is a master class in acting. She said, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Now, at this point in the 1880s, these was fighting words because Athena was like, now Dorothy, let's just be civilized. Because Dorothy's like, how fucking dare you come in here and be a damn hypocrite, trying to sit up here and act like you're all high and mighty when you are nothing. My daughter's business was her business. And she was going to tell this man, no, she did not deceive you. She's not dating you. No, she did not lie to your son. Okay, there is a time and there is a place. And I'm getting so fucking tired of you over here putting an umbrella on, trying to hide from the sun to try to take yourself away from the blackness. You're not coming at my daughter, girl. And if your son takes this situation and the fact that my daughter has had a complicated past, that he wasn't good enough for her in the first fucking place, bitch. And the seamstress comes in and she's like, oh my God, how's everything going? And Dorothy's like, oh my God, it's great. I'm going to take this dress. And Athena's like, oh my God, I am so tired of playing referee between y'all. And let me park it right here because I really need like another side quest episode, one episode of Dorothy and Athena. And I really need it from like Athena's POV because she has had to be in between every encounter between Dorothy and Elizabeth. And I know she got to go home to her own mama and be like, Ma, your niece, I'm having a really hard time, like, restraining her, girl. Like, she finna knock the fuck out of Elizabeth. Like, this is so crazy. And she's just standing there like, girl, like, girl, like, girl. And Dorothy's like, hell no. I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done with you. Yes, we're going to the ball. Fuck you and your son. My daughter is worthy of any and everything. Any and everything. And one of my favorite lines out of this whole thing, it was said more delicately than I'm about to paraphrase, but Dorothy was like, you've allowed the high society of New Jersey to get into your head, but bitch, I'm not from here. I'm from fucking Brooklyn, okay? BK, I will beat your face. And Honestly, other than the cuss words, she literally said that. She was like, I'm not from here. And you've allowed these people to put you up on a pedestal to make you think that you are the end all be all of what it means to be Black and what it looks like to be Black. But baby, I will fuck you up behind me and mine. Had enough. And I was like, whack her again. And when you are done, whack some more. Dance on her grave. Okay. Flatten her like a pancake. If you watch Don't Be a Menace to South Central by Drinking Your Juice in the Hood, it is one of my top movies ever. It's within my top 5, literally. And there's a scene where they're beating old boy up on the street and they're like do-si-doing on top of him and he's like flattened into the sidewalk. Do that because Elizabeth, I'm tired. But we get to the ball, right? And Oscar makes a move. Okay. He convinced Bertha to invite Mrs. Winterton. And he makes his move on Mrs. Winterton. He's like, listen, I just came into a cottage that's like right next door to wherever you're living. Your husband dead. I'm gay. So we can do whatever we want in our household. Like I can fuck whoever, you can fuck whoever, but in society, we can just be a married couple and we can take all of this shit over. So I'm really loving like the plotting and the scheming and the chemistry of those two actors was absolutely incredible. And then speaking of the chemistry, when Mrs. Winterton showed up, just the little like rift between her and Bertha, chef's kiss. Definitely see why they left that scene in this episode because they are one and the same. And Miss Winterton knows who Bertha is. Like they're just two people who like clock each other's tea and they're gonna keep reminding each other that they got each other's tea. So you don't cross the line, I don't cross the line, and we're just gonna have like a respectable truce. But the moment you start feeling yourself, I'm ending all of that shit. And I love that. But what I also loved is that Bertha was able to successfully open up the doors to Charlotte and Aurora. And Lena actually showed up, even though she was wholly against it. But an argument between her and her daughter really like grounded her back into reality of like, yes, society is important, but ma'am, you have a child. And your daughter has to come before everything else. Society, your best friend just wrote a book and aired all your fucking business. So are you going to continue to show loyalty to that? Are you going to show loyalty to the person who was born innately to love you? Kids, even when you get grown and you do not fuck with your parents, there's just something in you that will always love your mom. Even when you don't ever talk to them ever again, you will always love them. And so I really enjoyed that Lena was very much humanized in this way, in that while she doesn't understand what's getting ready to happen moving forward into the new millennia, she doesn't necessarily agree with it. She can support that her daughter is a part of this new generation and she can at least support her daughter. And so this is just kind of one of those things where you may not believe in the cause, but if you believe in the people, then you can kind of understand like what that cause is through them, through their passion and through their experiences. So I really like that. Now the ball in and of itself was really fun. I definitely want to throw a party within the next couple of years that is Gilded Age. Like I can just go get a bunch of sheets, sew some things together, and I just really want to have a Gilded Age party because even with all the drama and all of the shit that everybody was dealing with emotionally, psychologically, physically, when that music started and it was just time to just be amongst friends, even if everybody in the room wasn't your friend, you at least had a friend in the room. That is just like something that I value and something that I love. A lot of y'all don't know me personally, but just like personally, friendship is like the most important relationship that you can have. It is the thing that you pick. It's the thing that you curate. And the way that I love my friends and the way that my friends love me, like it's absolutely incredible. So just kind of like knowing that everybody in the room was going through some shit, they could just go find their friends and just, escape for a little bit. I just feel like I do that with my friends anyway. And so why not bring an element of a show that I'm recently obsessed with and just do it? And all of my friends are like my age and older. Will we do it? Yes, because we aren't disconnected from the kid in us. We aren't disconnected from imagination. And that's just kind of like something to cherish. And yeah, I'm probably gonna do that. Maybe for my 40th birthday. Or maybe when I retire. I retire before my 40th birthday. We'll see. We're gonna put a pin in it, but I definitely want to do it. But at the ball, we had our Brandy, Whitney Houston, Cinderella moment. It's possible. It's possible. Peggy's singing the whole relationship is over, and William actually showed up to the ball. And now Elizabeth was like, oh my God, my baby. And her husband was like, pump your brakes. William goes over and he pulls Mr. Scott to the side. And Mr. Scott was like, listen, Negro, I heard what happened with my daughter, and I'm not too happy about that. You called it off. And William was like, that's not how I left the conversation. And Mr. Scott was like, well, that's how my daughter feels. So like, the fuck? What's up? And William was like, listen, what she said was a lie. But I'm not going to hold that because I love her. And this was not the ideal place to do it. But I'm not going to spend another fortnight thinking about it. Do you see all these Negroes up in this room? She's already currently dancing with a nigga that's low cut Caesar with a deep wave. I saw his haircut and I saw his mustache and I said, is this accurate? But okay, whatever. I think I've reached my N-word quota. I'm sorry, y'all. When we be going to Philly and New Jersey, it just be jumping out of me. I'm sorry. But yeah, he was like, I already seen her spinning around on the dance floor in another man's arms. Like, no, sir, please, can I marry your daughter? And so I think his name is Arthur. And he's like, oh my God, yes. But remember, young Padawan, a marriage between a man and his wife, not a man and his parents, and not a daughter and her parents. This is you and my daughter. And you need to take this seriously. And William was like, yes. And so he's walking up and everybody's doing their little walks or whatever. And what I love about this is if this show was in 2025, William would have asked her dad for her hand in marriage and then saw her dancing with another dude. And then he would have walked out the side building and been all insecure and been in his feelings. But I love that this type of like atmosphere and this was just the culture. Her dancing with a man didn't mean anything. This was just the thing that they did. And so I love that there was no jealousy and there was no second guessing behind after he made his intentions known. And the cinematography, she's spinning around and then it slows down and she sees William. And she don't give a fuck about that man no more that's holding her hand. And he's like, can I have this dance? And she's like, yes. And they're dancing and he gets down on one knee and everybody's like, oh my God. And I'm getting so emotional because like, I don't know if y'all have noticed, Danae Ben's name is number 4 on the opening credits. She's number 4. Okay. To have this moment singled out visually in this way, season 4, I can see Danae creeping up to number 2 or number 3. Absolutely on this call sheet. The way that this whole storyline in just Black high society has played out in her favor. I don't know if it was done on purpose or if it was just something that the writers kept writing to. And so they're like, fuck it, we're just going to do it. An example of that is when Denai came into The Walking Dead. And one of the behind the scenes interviews that they said is that the writers just kept writing to Michonne and Rick because of the chemistry between Denai and Andrew Lincoln. And so just subconsciously, they were just writing for that connection. And so again, I don't know if Julian Bellows has already mapped this out or people genuinely are happy and exciting for writing for William and Peggy, so much so that the ball kind of culminates and gets to that peak moment with her storyline. In season 4, I can absolutely see really splitting that time between New York, Philly, Jersey, and just kind of really looking into what Black high society and white high society look like. What are the similarities? What are the parallel storylines? And then what are the major differences that are rooted in cultural and ethnic nuance? Would really love to see that, especially because Peggy is still also so ingrained in the Van Rhijn family, in the Van Rhijn household. Marion is her best friend. So just having all of that, I can foresee Carrie, Coon, Danae Benton, 1 and 2 in the opening credits of season 4. Absolutely beautiful. But closing it out and circling back to Bertha and George, it's very nice that one divorced woman or in the process of divorce and another one being sued for divorce was open and seemingly accepted in high society. It's just one ball. Nobody made it a big deal, especially because Bertha might find herself as one of these women in season 4. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Just the whole like title, I made up my mind. As you watch the episode, you really don't know the way that feels so ominous with a title of an episode and who that applies to. But then when you look at everything that happens in this episode, everybody did make up their mind. Decisions were made and decisions were finalized. Unfortunately, with the main character, this leaves a million questions as we head into season 4. So there's that. Season 3 finale of The Gilded Age. My mind is made up. Other than the fact that I thought the first half was really, really fast, I feel like season 4, we can do a little bit of a time jump. I think a good, nice separation between Bertha and George will be good. What does that look like with Bertha running the house by herself without her husband? I think that is the perfect opportunity for Bertha to kind of get through the initial hurt of like, who am I if not Mrs. George Russell? But her and Lena kind of sharing being the heads of high society and she gaining another hobby and essentially employment. Like that is a full-time job what Lena does. She learns how to be independent. And I'm really looking forward to what that looks like when George realizes that he made a mistake with keeping the distance for that long. Like, does he deserve distance to figure out his stuff? Absolutely. I don't like the way that he's gone about it, but he is in this marriage as well. He's the other half of the relationship. He deserves to communicate that he needs time apart and to figure out what that is. What I would like from a writing standpoint is for him to come back and realize, like, okay, I do want to be in this. And he sees that Bertha has now curated an identity outside of being Mrs. George Russell. And like I said earlier, they're all known, all the women are known by Mrs. in their man's name. And I really want him to come back where she's known as Miss Bertha Russell, to the point where they don't even call her Mrs. anymore. And she kind of owns and take his last name as if it's a maiden name of her own. I would really like to see like what that looks like and what the fight to get back to who they were is with all of these changes. Because at the end of the day, the advice that he gave Larry is correct. Like, don't allow the petty things to get so large within your relationship that you forget that you are here in service of your own relationship. Unfortunately, for right now, he's just so deep into his feelings that he can't take his own advice. but I want him to kind of come around to his own. And as we're ushering in the new millennia, as we are looking at the younger girls like Gladys, like Marion, I want Bertha to kind of be like, yeah, like, I'm not Agnes's age. I'm a young bitch too. Like, I can get in on this. I want her to lean fully into her ambition. I do want her to learn her lessons and I want her to be kinder to her children, but I want her mostly to be kinder to herself. I really want Bertha to have like a I'm not my man type of awakening, if that makes any sense. I fully want to be into the wedding planning for Peggy and William, and I still want Elizabeth to be a hellion. I need her and Dorothy sitting at the table and having the similar quips and conversations that Monica had with Sarah at that dinner table when she came to visit. Like the banter between Dorothy and Elizabeth, especially now that Dorothy went the fuck off, it's very clear they don't like each other. It's out in the open. It's not subliminal. It's not shady. It's not anything. The sun has come out tomorrow and everything is out and open. And so I just really want like Peggy and William to be so like, I'm in love with you, you know, I am in love with you. You set me free. But I need like Dorothy and Elizabeth to be on the outsides. Like, I fucking hate you. I can't stand you. My son can do better. My daughter can do better. Like, I really need like that type of bickering over tea because they're not gonna get along for a very long time. And I want this. I want this so much. Like, when I tell you I want Danae to rise up on the call sheet so that we can get this. And outside of like the fun of what that could look like, I also want Arthur to have more Arthur. Oh my God, my accent coming out. I want Arthur to have, I didn't fix shit. I want Arthur to have more conversations with Frederick and even in the same room as Elizabeth because we're still looking at a man who's first generation emancipated who is wealthy versus generational wealth from the other side of the Black family. There's just still so much conversation and so much nuance, so much hurt, and so much history in what Arthur's character brings to the table. Especially because I think I learned that Dorothy kind of like, I don't think her parents was really wanting her to be with Arthur either. And so, of course, she's going to ride hard for Peggy because she is Peggy and she's making a choice to follow love even when somebody's parents feels like the person that they're choosing is beneath them. So just for Black storylines during this time period, I think that it would be something that is so incredible. And you're still dealing with like the women's vote and the suffrage movement and everything like that. The unity that they can push in the show can be something that hopefully inspires unity in real life because honestly, in real life, like, yeah. Not gonna say what I want to say. Finna take another sip. Being, my mom said, if you ain't got nothing nice to say. But anyways, would really love that. Another thing that I want to see, I want some gay scandal. I want Oscar with a new man. I want Oscar and Mrs. Winterton. I don't know her first name. I want them to like do their arrangement, but like genuinely get a friendship. But I want like a little threesome action. Like I want them in their household getting it in. Like let's since we're up in the stakes, let's up the stakes. We already know there was some hoes back then. Anyway, everybody was lying. Everybody was lying. So we don't need to continue to lean so heavily into the respectability like politics when we know dudes was sleeping with dudes, women was sleeping with women, like we know that that was a thing. Um, Getting a nice little polyamorous storyline with them would be incredible. Now, is this a selfish ask? Yes. But I feel like other people, if you haven't thought about it, you're thinking about it right now because they said it. And that's just what we need. Y'all, like, I heard that season 1 and season 2 was like super low stakes. Like, it was like, oh, is Marion gonna cross the street today? And that was like the thing. And so now that we're here, because I haven't seen season 1 and season 2, but remember, I'm gonna be reviewing that. So the Gilded Age is not over on this channel. Since we're here, let's just lean into it, and continuing to have those quirky beats with the servants, to have those quirky beats between Ada and Agnes. I think it'll still be something that's really good and really well balanced, even with the drama with Bertha and George. But because Gladys is pregnant, and I already said that I really want time to pass, I feel like Gladys can be like 7 or 8 months. I think I want like 7 or 8 months to pass for sure. And I want, maybe we can see a double wedding with Marianne and Peggy. Maybe they can invent the first double wedding. Who knows? You know, George had been an Amtrak, so you know, like it is what it is. But that would be really cute. Yeah, I'm thinking like 7 to 8 months time jump. And while people are moving on, conflict resolution has not happened in those spaces. And there's opportunity for other things, like I said, like a polyamorous relationship between Winterton, Miss W, I'm gonna call her that because it's a lot. Miss W and Oscar, and then like a male companion. One thing I am highly disappointed in is that we made it all the way to season 3, episode 8, and Charles Payne is not dead. Aurora's storyline started off so powerful in episode 1 and 2, and then she just became relegated to like this whiny lady who was taking his divorce, like sitting down and will it exhibit in society. Like, I don't like that. I didn't like it. Kill Charles. Kill Charles. Kill him. We didn't see him no more. So like, what was the point? We still could have got to Bertha wanting to eradicate keeping women of ill repute or whatever out of society. We still could have got to that same thing, but Aurora could have had more of a presence in her own life. It was like she kind of took a backseat to her life. Like, she was not an active participant in everything that was going on around her. And I don't like that. But since Agnes is now the vice president of the history club or whatever is going on, the New York history, whatever. What is the name of this? I wrote it down. Let me not be rude. New York history. Where is it at? I know I wrote this down. I can't scan this fast enough. Anyways, the Mrs. Forster wants her to be the president of like the historical club of New York and the families and stuff like that. And so maybe Aurora can kind of like work as a secretary or something with the same organization. Something. I like Aurora. But Aurora was kind of played to the left a little bit after episode 2. Don't like that. Yeah, so other than Aurora's storyline and the first half of this being really fast, the fact that they are renewed for season 4, I really kind of want them to slow down and just dig deep. Pick like 4 things. Not my light going out. So anyways, after some technical difficulty, this must be the universe telling me to wrap it up. Pick just like 4 things and maybe like a couple of storylines to really dig deep into and keep everybody else on like the periphery of things in season 4. I think this season was so successful and it hit such a big stride, which a lot of seasons, once they get to season 3, after you laid the groundwork and the backstory and everything in the first 2 seasons, season 3 across multiple shows, just look at the history of it, just takes off. And that's typically the season where larger audiences outside of like the niche audience that first captured it has picked up on it. And so I think this is a really good opportunity to get into season 4 and pick George Russell, Peggy and William, George and Bertha, Peggy and William, and maybe like Lena, Charlotte, Aurora, and just dig into what that looks like. Keep everybody else kind of like on the periphery of things, kind of like put in little plot devices to set yourselves up for seasons 5, 6, and 7, and so on and so forth. Because there's so many people, there's so many storylines. I can see this going for 10 seasons, 12 seasons. But I don't know if season 4 is as fast. I don't know. This episode was really fast. That's my biggest critique. We just like jumped through so many different things to like wrap it in a bow. And you can kind of tell that they probably did that in a way because they didn't know if they would get renewed. And so they shot it in a way that was just like, all right, listen, we got to close like all these loops, keep this one open just in case. But if this is the end, this is the end. So hopefully there's a lot more confidence moving forward that they're going to shoot this in a way that says, no, we're going to get a season 5. We're going to get a season 6. We're going to get a season 7. And if they do it that way, I really think we can dig deep and dive into so many different things and really unearth a lot of backstory and a lot of secrets amongst multiple characters across multiple seasons. And so that's 2 cents, y'all. Y'all gotta tell me what you thought about this episode. Definitely an underwhelming finale. I just gotta put it out there. I was underwhelmed. The last episode, when I said in episode 7, I was not sure how the finale would go. I think episode 7 and episode 8 could have been swapped. George could have got shot after the ball. I don't know. I don't like it. I think those 2 episodes could have been swapped out. The final shot at the end of this episode just wasn't like a huge payoff, especially coming after is George alive or is George not alive? It would have been better for George to have said what he said at the end of this episode, like, hey, I'm going back to the club. I don't know what our relationship is going to be like. Like, I need to figure this out. And then when he gets to the club, a letter comes, boom, he gets shot. We don't know what the fuck is going to happen. We got to wait until season 4. That is what I would have done. So it was too fast. And I think episode 7, episode 8 should have been swapped. Okay, this is the last thing that I'm going to say. As always, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave comments in the comments box below. If you got people that only want to listen to the podcast, make sure you share the Spotify and the Apple Podcast link. Okay. And I'm trying something new with Spotify. I'm also putting like little video previews from my YouTube clips onto Spotify. So like, let me know like what that is. Like, if you got people you're sharing it that are only Spotify listeners, like let me know what they think about those trailers, right? I like feedback, constructive. But I like feedback. Yeah. You can also find me on Instagram at So There's That Podcast, where I post film and TV news and updates. You can find me on TikTok at Kivanchi, where I do reviews on film and TV shows that I do not cover on this platform nor on my podcast. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at Kivanchi, talking my shit about any and everything in very much non-critical film, TV, whatever ways. It's just me consuming media and just saying what I think right then and there at the moment. So with that, guys, I can't believe that this is a finale of season 3 of The Gilded Age. But like I said, I will be back next Sunday. We're keeping The Gilded Age on Sundays. I will be back next Sunday doing a full recap and weekly review on The Gilded Age, starting from season 1 through season 2, okay? So if you're having some withdrawals, And if you watch any of my videos and you're like, girl, you need to go watch season 1, episode 8, like you need to watch season 2, episode 3, then let's keep the chat, let's keep the conversation going, okay? And even as I'm watching it for the first time, I might bring up something that you missed when you watched it. You never know, okay? So that is not the end all be all for the Gilded Age over here on this channel. But yeah, with that, I need to take a nap. Finals week is finally done. It has beat my ass and my brain is done. It's mush. So with that, I will catch y'all in the next episode.